I'm building a monster dividend portfolio and I'm going with $23 a month all the way to $1 million, and I'm going to do that in 7 years or less. So let me tell you how. So there's three types of stocks you can really go for in my, in my head anyway. And so which one of them do I want to go with? I can go with income stocks, which are high yield. I can go with growth stocks, which are long-term hold, or I can go with the value stocks, which are typically more valuable than the price is showing. So then you have to go out and research and find them, and hopefully find stocks that are slightly more valuable than the price that they're at. The thing is, I want these stocks to pay dividends in the short term, but also have a turnover option. So what is my strategy? Well, I want high cash flow, regular turnover, and high yields. I want all of that. Really what I'm doing is I'm looking for the possibility of swing trading, or in the short term, even scalping. So don't get freaked out. Scalping is a term for high turnover that's not day trading, but is still not long enough to be swing trading. Now, is this the best strategy? Yes and no. For someone with no risk tolerance, this is definitely not the right strategy. And for someone with maybe no experience at all, possibly not the right strategy. So for me, I've been trading for 10 years. I've kind of had some successes and have determined this is the right strategy for me to do this in the short term. So for me, yes, swing trading and the way I'm doing this high turnover thing is the right strategy. And focusing on dividend stocks is definitely the type of thing I want to do to kind of help reduce my risk. So I'd say I'm not an advisor, so definitely don't try this at home. If you are looking for something to have fun with or play around with the stocks, this might be okay for you, but you might want to have a little experience and know what you're doing before you jump into it, or check with an advisor to see if, this might be an option for you to push your portfolio, but definitely do the research before you start. Now, if you want to follow my progress, you can go ahead and click subscribe and like to follow along. And if you want to help on my channel, you can also click on my link that I have in the description, and that's for WealthSimple. I use WealthSimple as my online broker, so it has no fees. So the whole thing about this is I had that 9-to-5 job. I had some health issues. I couldn't kind of continue, so I looked for other options. I went back to school, had all kinds of issues, and so now I've got no pension, I've got no savings, and I'm still struggling to kind of get back into the workforce. And I started thinking, well, what's my retirement going to look like in 10 years? Well, it's not really that great. And in the last 10 years, I've been playing around with stocks, and I devised a strategy that allowed me to do quick trading and hopefully get between 12 and 16% in a month. Now, that has a lot of ifs to it. It started out more from day trading, so it was a lot of quick trades. When you don't have very much money and you're investing, like, say, $5, you're not getting a huge return on it, but it was basically trying to keep the cash flow and get as much out of it as possible. As I went through with experience, I realized that I was missing out on some, so I felt like expanding into a swing trade option was better. Having dividend stocks was always kind of my plan once I decided day trading was not really going to work out. Because to day trade, for what I understand, if you want to make a living off of it, you have to have quite a bit down to start with. And there's a fair bit of research that goes into it, and it's fairly time consuming. So just based on what I learned, day trading was not an option for me, having a regular job and not having the cash. So I wasn't going to be able to make a living off of it, and I didn't have the time to commit. So here I am. I looked for a different option, and it was kind of scalping, I guess, as they say. And it's turned into, I think, swing trading is even probably a better option, because if I'm using high quality dividend stocks, ones that pay out high dividends, ones that have been paying out for a long time, the aristocrats, I'm definitely going to have more options to continue getting dividends paid in if I don't get that turnover. If I can get the turnover, I want the full turnover. So I don't just like want 1 or 2%. I want 3 to 10% on a trade. So if I can get 3 to 4, even 5% in a week, that's pretty good. So I'm going to 3 to 5% in that week. And if I don't, and I end up holding it longer, that's fine. For instance, I've had a couple stocks where I bought and it went down further. I bought more and then I bought again. I'm going to hold that stock for a longer period of time, and I'm going to let the swing trade happen and hopefully go for a 10 to even 20% gain. And with the stock on the route it's at, it's more than likely going to take, 3 to 4 months before I really kind of see that, which is fine. But it does allow me that swing trade option, and I don't have to sit there and go, oh, okay, I just want my 1%. Now, if that is all I get out of it, that's all I get out of it, but I'm still getting dividends in the meantime, which means my cash flow is going to keep turning over. The reason I want the sell and the cash flow is I get that opportunity to buy and sell again as much as possible. Only doing $23 a month. Well, because I am still working to get back into the workforce, I don't have a lot of cash to inject. Therefore, constant turnover with cash flow is super important to take advantage of those ebbs and flows in the market, and hopefully get myself into a position where I get enough of a base that the cash flow is fairly significant. So I'm always having more cash to jump into it. Now it's basically what I can throw in myself and how I can turn it over as quickly as possible to build it up and hopefully get to that base where that dividend now starts giving me $20 a month or $40 a month or $100 a month, even $1,000 a month, so that I can have that continual turnover and buying into stocks that are going to keep paying me out. All right, so let's swing back. Now, income stocks that I'm looking at, there's a few there that are income stocks. I only want them short to medium term. I don't want them for past 3-4 years, because they're going to pay out a good dividend now, but if they don't grow over the next 3 years, that's really not really sustainable, right? Are they going to be there long term? Now, the payout ratios on them are okay, but not great, but I'm still focused on them right now because if I end up holding them, I get the turnover with the dividend. If I end up selling them for a profit, because I'm looking for ones that have value, that income stock is going to give me income in the short term and then also get turnover, which is kind of a double whammy for me, which I feel is like a super bonus. Now, growth stocks, Alimentation Couche-Tard is one for an example. They have a mindset of growth, but the dividend only pays out around 1%. So the dividend is not really worth anything. But here's the thing. They keep shooting for growth, so their stock price keeps growing because the company is more valuable. And then, of course, the dividend, they keep raising it, and they're raising it at a fairly significant rate. And their payout ratio is actually quite low. So it means even if they get stuck for a little bit, they can keep increasing that dividend payout ratio. And there's room for that dividend to grow even once the company kind of stagnates a bit, if they choose to do so. Right now, they're actually pursuing a really large sale, so they're actually going to get some debt, so their payout ratio is going to actually be a little bit worse in the short term, but the cash flow that they generate potentially could pay that off fairly quickly, and it's going to increase the value of the company significantly while increasing the chance of stock price and dividend payout. So huge. So I can buy it at a super cheap price now, and 5 years from now, that dividend price hopefully will go up along with the stock price. And now I bought it cheap, so instead of being 1%, hopefully it'll be like 10, 15, even 20% long ways down the road. Now, here's the thing with the growth stocks. There is some speculation on that, but what you want to look at is solid companies that are having that focus on growth. They want to expand their companies, they want to grow, and they want to put the money that they're making towards that, but they still have the dividend, which tells you they want their stockholders to have some reward for holding their stock. So that is kind of an important factor to pay attention to and see what is the ideal of the company and what is their history. And as I said, Alimentation Couche-Tard has that idea of growth, but also the dividend payout. Now, value stocks, this is kind of a Warren Buffett thing, and I'm not going to try and name drop because I don't follow Warren Buffett per se, but I do know a little bit about what he talks about, and value stocks are kind of his thing. So if you follow finance and big names, Warren Buffett is kind of a value person. He's always looking for stocks that are undervalued. Now, in his words, he said that it's harder and harder to find that. So me, with the amount of time I have to do research, I'm not going to be trying to be Warren Buffett, but I'm still looking for stocks that I feel have more value than what the stock price is showing, even though it may not be what one of those big finance people would shoot for. I just need a little bit undervalued. I just need something that's got that potential to bounce back, have a nice bounce, so my swing trade is going to pay me out a decent amount, like that 5 to 10%, or even more in a short term. And I really want to see as much value as I can, but with the limited amount of research I'm capable of doing. So value stocks are a huge advantage to me. And of course, I would combine them with high yield stocks. Those are kind of my first choice. Growth stocks that drop, for instance, Couche-Tard, and I brought them up because they kind of fit into a lot of categories. They're a growth stock in my mind, but every time they try and do an acquisition, their stock price drops. Now, I don't understand really why, because I think they're pretty transparent about the idea that they want to grow their company, and the way they grow their company is, you know, a fairly successful template. So I don't know why the stock price keeps dropping, why people jump out. It scares people, I guess, but it always ends up, in my mind, being an opportunity for me to jump in. So I look for stocks like that where they're looking for these acquisitions and they're looking for that potential for growth, which I think makes their company better. And if people sell off and the price drops, it creates a little bit of value for me as well. And I love to jump into a growth stock there. A little bit of speculation, but I think a lot of planning as far as looking for those types of stocks that have that opening to the future. All right, so that is my monster portfolio, and I'm following mostly on a swing trade idea. High yield stocks that have a decent payout ratio, growth stocks that I think have that potential to grow the dividend into something that is substantial in the future. And of course, I'm always looking for value stocks that are potentially undervalued, even if only by a little bit. I'm not, let's say, trying to be Warren Buffett again, but I'm looking for something that I feel has a potential increase in value, swing trade option, and that's going to get me my turnover. My turnover is what's going to build up my cash flow, right? My cash flow gives me that opportunity to buy into future investments. I don't plan on selling for a loss ever, so I'm going to hold on to the things that drip down and don't bounce back. But I'm only buying dividend stocks I feel have some longevity. So there you have it. That is my monster dividend portfolio plan. I'm starting with next to no money. I had about $100 to start with, $23 a month. I don't even know if I can sustain that based on my current job situation. But this is 10 years of planning in play, and I'm going to share it on this channel. So I hope you follow along. See you next time.